This is Ms. Blanton and
Mrs. Cohen.
And we are here to talk to you about how important your grades are and how detrimental a 0 can be to your grade.
We want to start off by talking about the difference between major grades and minor grades, or test grades and daily grades. We kind of broke it up here. You can see typically, it varies a little by class, but typically 60% major grades, which would be a test or a project, and then 40% daily work and quizzes. If you look at this graph, you can see that each test is worth a really significant amount, and 2 tests are worth the same amount as all of the daily work and quizzes that you do throughout the semester. When you look at Skyward, a lot of times you can see the separation of major grades versus minor grade, or daily quiz, test grades, however your teacher decides to break it up. But what you'll notice is, even if you have a 90% up here, if you don't do well on your tests, it's going to have significant impact on your grade. You need to make sure that not just that you're turning in everything, but that you're actually understanding and that you're coming in for tutoring. Because you may turn in all of your work and you may have a 90 for your daily grades, but if you don't pass your tests, you're still not going to pass your class. Each individual daily grade is worth much less than 1 test grade, because you only have 3 major grades per 9 weeks. So each test grade is worth 20 points out of the 100 that you can get. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on getting ready for those tests.
So if you think about it this way, the whole bar represents your grade. That's 100%. If you were to fill the bar up, you have 100. Now, let's say your first test, you made a 50. So for your first test, you only filled up half of your bar. So this white space represents points you can't get back. Now, test 2, you went in for tutorials, you made an 80. So for this test, you've got about 80% of your bar filled up. Okay, but notice still white space, points that you can't ever get back into your grade. Test 3, let's say you make 100 because you went to tutoring every day. All of that one. Now, daily work and quizzes. Maybe you've been not turning in your homework. If you only turn in half of your homework, you're only going to fill up half that bar. That's 40 points of your grade. If you only turn in half, you're missing out on 20 points. So, you've turned in half your homework and you're here. Now, quizzes could also be a part of your grade. So, all of the teachers, we all offer quiz corrections.
Yeah? And test corrections.
And test corrections.
Here, this has a 50, the big gap. Well, you can bring that up to a 70. You can't cover back all the white, but you can get at least a little bit more pink. You can get a little bit more of your points because you can get up to a 70 for test corrections. Now, for the 80, you can't because you got an 80. And then the 100, obviously, there are no points to get back. So even up here at the 40% for your daily work and quizzes, half of that you got credit for, half you didn't. Well, you can't get all of those points back because your teachers are only going to give you a 70 for your corrections or your makeup work, and that's only if you get 100% of it correct. So you need to make sure that you're working hard. The other thing to point out is that the higher your grade is in this top 40%, most likely the higher your grade is going to be on your tests, because those assignments directly correlate to what you're going to be tested over. Okay, so when you're looking at these white spaces that we talked about, you can do test corrections. Some classes allow you to test corrections up to a 70. That's district policy. Every teacher has to at least let you do that. But there are some classes, some subject areas that allow you to correct even if you passed your test. Take advantage of that. Anytime you can make up some of that white space you want to, so you can get your grade as high as possible. So your semester exam and your final exam are worth 15% of your grade. And so every 9 weeks, Ms. Flores sends all of you guys an email that shows you the chart for the percentages for what grade do I have to get on my midterm to get this grade. And what you'll notice is the lower your grade is, the higher your grade has to be on that exam to bring your grade up. You have to work much harder. And so if you can get as much of that white space filled in now, it's going to make it a lot easier come midterms or finals to be able to get that B that you want, or that A that you want, or maybe your borderline passing. And if you bring your grade up just a little bit more, maybe it gives you a little bit of a buffer to be able to pass your class.
There's always those kids who they walk into class, they look at the chart, and they realize they only need a 15 to keep an A in the class. That should be you. Do that for yourself. Do really, really, really well all year so that when it's time to take the final, all you need is a 20 to pass or a 20 to get your B or whatever it is. Don't put so much pressure on your final that you need an A on your final just to pass the class. I see it all the time, and I feel so bad for those kids because I know getting an A on the final is one of the hardest tests. A final exam with an A, that's almost unheard of. That's really, really awesome. So work really, really hard so that when you take your final, you can just cruise right in and cruise right out. So, in summary, the grades that you get on your test can improve. The pink represents the points that you earned on your test. If you want to fill in some extra white space or get more points on your grade, do those corrections. That is the biggest chunk of your grade. If you're not turning in homework, you're going to have more white space up here in your bar, which means you're missing more points that you cannot get back on your grade if you don't turn them in. So, moral of the story, do your homework so that you know what's going to be coming on the quiz. Practice, 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 but once you get that quiz, do your quiz corrections. Why? That's going to help you be successful on your test so that you can do better on the big chunk stuff. So all along the way, you've got the opportunity to do homework and quiz corrections. Do them, do them, do them.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.